I don't think it's a massive water crime, but nevertheless I think the Royal Forest and Birds information is a wake-up call to all our water users out there in Canterbury that it's time we got very serious about illegal water takes. There will undoubtedly be across the farming community some who are using water that is not consented, but what I would say is that the vast majority of farmers actually comply with their consents and do so regularly on a basis and report that to us. It's our job to track down those that aren't. Does that come to millions of litres? Yes, in some cases it does. Regulations were introduced by the government in 2012 to address this very problem, requiring water metering of all major takers of water. We've been rolling those out, working with the farmers and discovering for ourselves just how difficult a prosecution is of a water meter. And so we had about 4 planned prosecutions for last year, ended up deciding not to take any of them. I guess after this, next year is going to be different. In some cases the water meters are inappropriately put in. Verification of the data is difficult. We're just learning through that. Over the last 4 years we've seen some 4,900 farmers put in water meters, start to supply us with information on a regular basis as we've learned how to handle that information and how to react to it and how to spot those very small percentage that are illegally taking water. Water is incredibly valuable in today's world in Canterbury, and so those people, there might be a very, very few that think that that additional water is more valuable to them for their particular crop or their particular farming operation than it is to recognise the environmental value of that water. It's up to us to stand up for those environmental values and deal with them, but I do assure you it's very few. We've been building towards a tighter regime across the water metering regulations, or from the water metering regulations that the government introduced for the last 4 years. I'm pretty clear in my own mind that thanks to Royal Forest and Bird giving us a heads up, we'll be moving on some prosecutions if there are any water stealers in Canterbury. Not disappointed, it's the context. So it's the context that recognises we're on pretty much a 5-year journey since the water metering regulations were introduced. It's much more about recognising where we are and where the farming community have come from. And I honestly believe that water metering and that information flying to us actually on a daily basis, telemetered to us rather than reported at the end of each year, will be there in 2 years. It starts with whether water meters are installed, whether their data is verifiable, and then what actions you can take arising from that. This has been a new area for us, and I would have to say that we've been probably pretty comfortable with the pace at which the majority of the farming community are learning to use their data and learning to use their water. But now I think we've got a heads up that it's time to harden up and to take a look at any of the miscreants, and they're very few. What we do have to say that even in the drought years, in the last 2 drought years in Canterbury, most of the farmers here have obeyed their water consents, obeyed their water restrictions and stayed within their means. They have a couple of months.
Okay.
Basically, most of them finished irrigating in about May. Most of them will start again in September, October. And so they've got a couple of months to sort their acts out. I don't believe that for a moment. Water is so important across Canterbury from all sides. It doesn't matter whether you're using it for production or whether you care about it environmentally or a mix of both. What we have been is facing 6,000 odd water consents, more than more than all other regions in New Zealand put together. And we've been working with the farming community to do that. We're down to the last 10% after 3 seasons. That is about where I'd expect it to be. And we'll step it up again over the next 2 seasons. No, I don't accept that. An abatement notice is an abatement notice anywhere in New Zealand. What it says is stop what you're doing or face further action. I think Environment Canterbury has been learning all about water metering and reporting water metering data along with the farmers as they've learned to supply it. What we're aware of is that 4,900 of them have now put in meters and are supplying data to us on a regular basis. That's great. What we're doing now is mopping up the final 10%, and what we'll do now is also step up, if you like, the enforcement around non-compliance. ECAN has been committed to implementing the water regulations right from 2012. That will continue, and I think that within 2 years, these will largely be issues of the past.